My name is Joan Fowler, and I'm an associate instructor for the Reconnection. I've been doing this wonderful work for almost 10 years, and it's been life-changing. And the reason it's been life-changing for me is 30 years ago, I had a near-death experience. 30 years ago, there wasn't much around, no literature available in bookstores. I think Raymond Moody just had his book out at that time. I was riding down Pacific Coast Highway, and all of a sudden, I was out of my body. I looked down, and I could see I was halfway under a truck. I could see people milling around, and I could hear their thoughts. You know, some people wanted to help me. Some people were a little bit cautious because they weren't sure what to do, and others just didn't want to be sued. I looked at that situation, and I sort of became just sort of detached from it as I felt this magnetic pull from my right side, and then this immense, beautiful light filled with joy, palpable. And my boundary conditions, the physicality, started to drop away. As I merged with it, I became part of everything. I became the trees, the breeze. I could feel into everything, the universe. I became one with it. And I thought, I could stay here forever. And just as I had that thought, I heard, well, what about your mother and your grandmother? And there was a strong sucking sound going the other way. As I could see the ambulance that was carrying my body going around the corner to the hospital, and a guy over me feverishly trying to get me back. As I started to come into my body, I could feel his family, the love he had for them. There was no separation. And even after that, if I would go to a grocery store or have contact with people, I couldn't feel any of the separation. It was as if that near-death experience lingered. And I would try to tell my family about it. And I know many of you have tried to tell your families, and they just don't understand. It's really hard for them to comprehend because the experience is beyond words. Beyond words. There's no words that can convey that joy. And so, as I tried to tell my parents about it, they said, well, you know, you were hit on the head. You may want to go see a psychiatrist. At that time, I was carrying a top secret clearance. And so I tapped it down. I put it way back in the back of the closet until just 9 years ago, I ran into the work of Reconnective Healing. And as I went for my first session, I started to merge again with that beautiful light. And even after the session, I started to feel that immense presence that we are all one. And now today, as I facilitate sessions for others, it's easily learned. I step into that space again. And you can too. And Eric's here today to tell you a little bit about his experience. He had a shared death experience when he was being born, his mother died. And so I'm going to ask Eric to come up. He's been teaching this work for the last 20 years. Easily mastered by everyone. I like to say it's your birthright. It's your birthright to stand in the knowingness of who you are. And this work of reconnective healing brings that love, light, and healing back to this plane of existence. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Eric Pearl.
Good morning, class. Hi. Which is an interesting word to start anything off with, but I already did, so too late. I sort of came into existence, was born through an NDE. I'm getting a little echo from these speakers here. If we could lower them just a touch. Thank you. I feel like I'm in a tunnel. Oh, a tunnel. A tunnel. I was born through an NDE. And later on I experienced an STE. So, two for the price of one. Where does the story begin? And I say, well, maybe it begins before it begins. My mother was in the delivery room. I was still inside of her. Her experience began where she heard loud motors starting at her feet and her ankles and her knees and working their way up her body. She knew that if they got to her chest, that she was going to die, and she did not want to die. She had a child to raise. And she tried to get everyone's attention. She couldn't imagine why all the doctors and everyone working in the delivery room were not distracted by this sound. But she couldn't get their attention, and it came to her heart. And I am shortening this story a great deal. For those of you who have read the book, The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself, I've taken this story and turned it into chapter 2 in that book. But just to bring us to a certain point, the loud motors came, got to her heart, and she felt herself leaving her body, and she didn't want to leave. Now, there's a lot of similarities in the NDE stories, and a lot of individuality. Just like every snowflake, you clearly know it's a snowflake, and yet each snowflake is unique. Every rose, you know it's a rose, and yet each rose is unique. So for her, what she experienced was leaving her body and passing through levels of what she felt the best word to use would be souls. She said they weren't exactly souls, but soul was the best word she could come up with. And the first level of these souls were those who had not yet realized that they had died, or felt that their work was incomplete. They weren't ready to leave. She moved through a second level that she doesn't recall. The third level was the only one that was uncomfortable for her to pass through. She said it was uncomfortable for the people on it, and it was uncomfortable for those of us who passed through it. And that was the level of the people who had taken their own lives. And she realized quite clearly that that was the only thing we could do that would temporarily interrupt the overall plan of God. But she did feel that these people would eventually, although they were slowed down there, they would move through that and continue on. She passed through other levels, and she finally got up to a level where she was moving down a lane, which was what she feels was the equivalent to what most people refer to as a tunnel. She wasn't walking. Her feet weren't moving. And yet she was drifting down this lane. She was seeing flowers she had never seen, of colors she had never seen. She saw people who she recognized that she had known for many, many, many lifetimes. There was no language. one look conveyed volumes of information, volumes. You knew who the person was. And she was suddenly becoming imbued with insights, with secrets. The first insight she had was that if there is only one thing that those who pass or who transcend regret, it's that those of us who are left behind here on our earthly experience, is that we mourn them. The only thing those who leave regret is that we are sad, because we don't realize we're mourning for our loss. That these people have returned to home, that they are happy, that they are whole, that they don't need our healing, they don't need our worrying, that we will all soon be together. And the only way to celebrate them is to celebrate them. She looked down the way and she saw a very bright light, a bright, intense light. It was so bright she was afraid to look at it, that it might burn her eyes. But she realized there was nothing physical to burn, so she did look. And it was a gorgeous light, a beautiful light, and she was being drawn closer and closer and closer. And as she got to the light, her life was laid out before her. And although this sounds almost contradictory, she knew it was a good life. And yet, simultaneously, there was no judgment. She was given the secrets of the universe. She knew why the grass was green, why the sky is blue, why the earth is round, how we can't blame God for the seemingly most horrible atrocities that occur, whether it be a drive-by shooting or anything else we can think of, that there is a reason for everything. And she understood that everything makes perfect sense when we are there. There's a reason for everything, and everything makes perfect sense. But it's not something for us to necessarily fully grasp here on earth, because here we are to be looking for the sense, the logic, the reasoning behind it. There we know it. Our growth here in many ways comes not so much from the answers, but from the seeking of the answers themselves. All of her attachment to responsibility was gone. She knew the silly things that had occupied her mind before, her phobia of germs, all these little things. She knew she would let go of judging people, how ridiculous it is to judge anyone by their appearance. She understood that war was a temporary state of barbarism that humanity was experiencing, that we will move beyond that. We will move beyond that. And as she really relaxed into that experience of love beyond which we have words, she found herself being sent back. Now, for all the struggling that she did not to die in the first place, now she didn't want to come back. But she was told she had a child to raise. And she found all the secrets with which she had become imbued disappearing from her consciousness, from her awareness. And she knew she was programmed to forget them all. So she struggled to hold on to these. You know, and I will tell you, Chapter 2 of the Reconnection was, in at least one way, the most difficult chapter for me to write, because I had to spend so much time with her on the phone getting just the right words that we could to define these things, and having her hold on to her memories and recall them and struggle to find them. And so as she was being sent back, she was programmed to forget all of these things, and she struggled to hold on to them. And when she came to, she was on a stretcher or a gurney being wheeled back to her room. My father was walking alongside of her, and she said to him, "I now know the secrets of the universe. I am programmed to forget them. I am going to tell you what they are, and I want you to write them down." And she did. And he didn't. Well, let's just say that in many ways, that moment characterized the rest of the relationship with my father. Feeling a little bit deprived of the secrets of the universe by your own father. I didn't know that. My mother never even told me this story until I was 5, when my grandmother died. And I was thinking, you know, what is death? You die, you end up in a box, you're underground, everything is dark, and that's it forever. And that's when she sat me down and told me this story. She had told a few people this story in the beginning, but she stopped telling it because people looked at her like, you know, could that really be real? Is that right? Is something a little off with you? And people would say, if it were anyone other than you, I wouldn't believe them at all. But not everyone would say that. When she came to again, she was in a room, and the woman in the next bed said, "You were reciting scripture in tongues." My mother did not know the Bible in English and did not know any other languages. The practical nurse in the room said, "All I can tell you is that you were very lucky." She looked at the woman in the next bed, and she thought for a moment, what an ugly woman. And then she laughed and she said, "Now, didn't I just learn better?" It's funny, the ins and the outs. I was talking about this earlier. It's sort of like being shown a new color. You can't describe the color, but you know you've seen it. You sort of have to dive back to relive and re-experience the color. So she decided she wouldn't be afraid of germs any longer, but still, when my milk bottle came, she placed a little napkin underneath the milk bottle so the germs didn't run up the outside. You know, I guess we have little trade-offs. Anyhow, I thought this was an interesting story. She said she knew it wasn't a dream, because as many of you know, you come back from that experience and you are forever changed. She had lost her fear of death. And when I heard the story, I lost mine. I look forward to that experience. Don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to go anywhere that soon. I have a lot to do here and a lot I want to do. But I also look forward to that experience. And about 6 years ago, my mother did pass for the second time. And she was looking forward to that experience also. Now, I just consider this a story, a real story, not a made-up story, something that was part of her experience. I never really gave it that much consideration as if it had anything to do with me. It was her experience. I wasn't lost on the fact that I was still inside of her, attached to the umbilical cord, that I may have shared some of that experience with her. I didn't give that much thought. There were a few interesting experiences in my life that I didn't pay attention to, because at the time I didn't think that they were that unusual. I knew of people, for instance, who couldn't wear watches because they would break. I, as a child, was given a box of old broken watches that couldn't be fixed by my grandfather, and I could hold the watches and fix them. My friends' parents would send their broken watches over with my friends to see if I would hold their watches and fix them and get them going again. I had unusual things, a few, nothing that stands out. I couldn't figure out where I wanted to be in my life. I eventually decided to become a chiropractor. I liked the principle, I liked the philosophy. The brain, the nervous system communicates throughout the body to all the organs, keeps them recycling themselves, new cells coming, keeping the organs healthy. When there's an interference in the spine, there's an interference with the brain-body communication. When old cells die, they're replaced by unhealthy cells. The chiropractor comes in and removes the interference in the spine, opens up the brain-body communication again, and new healthy cells replace the unhealthy cells. Sick organs become healthy organs again. I thought that sounds pretty cool. I think I'll do that. I mean, that was really about all the level of thought I gave to it. Finally found something sounded interesting, I'm going to do it. Oddly enough, the school system at the time beat that logic out of you. Oddly enough, the chiropractic school system beat out the principles and the philosophy of chiropractic because they were trying to become accepted by the medical world. And so they started having us focus on aches and pains and symptoms, et cetera, diagnosis. And by the time I got out of school, I was no longer a real chiropractor. I was what about 75% of today's chiropractors are. Pseudo MD, doing physical therapy, looking to make people feel better. I practiced that way for 9 years. When one day someone reminded me of the actual principle behind chiropractic. Remove an interference, get out of the way, and let the power that made the body heal the body. And I said, yes, I'm going to start practicing that way again. And so my 10th, 11th, and 12th year was pure principled chiropractic, which you should hopefully all be so lucky as to discover a principled philosophic chiropractor today, because they are few and far between. And not only were people feeling better, but they were accessing far greater levels of healing, of a return to wholeness, a return to balance. And then one day it happened. I had been asleep, I woke up because a bright light came piercing through my eyes. I opened my eyes to see what it was. It wasn't anything seemingly spiritual or metaphysical. It was just the lamp next to my bed for some reason turned itself on. And my bedroom door, which was closed, was now open. So wondering if someone was in my house, I got up. I grabbed the largest knife I could get my hands on. I got my Doberman pincher and an empty can of pepper spray to make me look dangerous, because the Doberman was hiding behind my legs. Searched through the whole house, couldn't find anyone. Finally convinced myself it was my imagination, and I went back to sleep. Although I'll tell you, you know those little round buttons on most lamps? You click it on, you click it off. Well, I'm a clicker. Everything gets clicked into place, doors get shut, windows are locked, everything's done. Toothpaste cap is screwed on tightly. The lamp is clicked on or off. I went to rotate that knob to turn the lamp off, the one that had turned itself on, and it wasn't clicked on. It was only rotated part way, and I knew that wasn't me, and I said to myself, well, whoever it is, if they let me wake up in the morning, they let me wake up and I'm going to bed. I went into my office on that Monday, and 7 of my patients started telling me that they were feeling people in the rooms with us. Other patients were telling me they could feel my hands touching them when I wasn't physically touching them. As I held my hands near them and moved my hands around, their bodies would go into involuntary movements. Their fingers would move, their arms and legs would kick, their eyes would rapidly dart back and forth, their facial muscles would pull. They reported seeing colors that they had never seen before, smelling flowers they had never smelled before. And they started demonstrating healings, real healings. They were getting up out of wheelchairs, vision and hearing returning. Kids who had cerebral palsy or epilepsy were suddenly walking and running and playing normally. Their doctors were calling me, asking me what I had done. Their families were calling, asking what I had done. I said I didn't do anything and don't tell anybody. And the more I said that, the more everyone started coming in saying, I'll have what she had. And soon people started asking me to teach this. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to teach this. I'm standing there and waving my hands in the air, looking like a fool. Why don't you go outside, wave your hands in the air, tell me what your neighbors say about you. But more and more of my patients started telling me that they would drive home from my office, pull up in front of their house, their automatic garage door began to open and close by itself. They walked inside their house, their lamp, their television, sound systems started turning off and on and off and on. They would feel sensations in their hands. I said their hands. They would feel sensations in their hands. They would hold their hands near someone in their family. And suddenly those people started having healings. As I worked with people, I found I was able to teach them the beginnings of this work. I want you to know that it took a long time for me to realize that maybe this whole story was interconnected. But I want you to know something else. This is not about my STE that I just described to you necessarily. It's not about my mother's NDE. Not if we use those stories to make ourselves special or unique. And many of us do. Oh, you only died once? You know those people. I do. I know you do. Everyone is special, and therefore no one is special. Often we use our NDEs as a badge of honor to distinguish ourselves. Oftentimes we don't use it in the highest way. Oftentimes we say, well, it was such a beautiful experience that I just want to go back. I can't find my place here in this life. Find your place. It is here in this life. There's a reason that you were sent back. How many of you have had the experience of an NDE and you feel a bit of suffering from missing it? You just want it again. Don't raise your hand halfway. Raise your hand. Show your truth. This is accessible when we're here. It's one thing to touch the experience, but what are we doing with it now? Has it become an identity for us? Many of our students learning reconnective healing come from this very same background. I didn't realize that. I find that out more and more and more. And what they're so excited about is that reconnective healing allows us, as Joan mentioned or explained, allows us to re-experience that fullness, that wholeness, that love, that essence that we experience during our NDEs, during our STEs. Here on earth. This is why you're here. Do you really think that someone up there made a mistake? What was that movie I saw where they hit the return button and you flew back again? I don't think someone made a mistake. I believe that each one of you were given this insight to see what the hell you would do with it. Can you bring back and share this consciousness with others so we can all start to recognize the spiritual beings that we are? Maybe you're a messenger. Maybe we have to get over our inferiority complexes, our fear, lack, limitation, worthiness issues. Will I be believed? Will I be perceived? How can I share this? It's not always shared through words alone. What do we know about communication? Language. Depending on who you listen to, less than 8%, less than 5%, less than 2% of our communication is through the spoken word. It's through everything else we emanate. There's a quote, I can remember the first part. Speak to me in energy. What's the second part? Speak to me in energy and I will understand you. Something along those lines. But we do speak in energy. Our fear is an energy, our love is an energy, our ownership is an energy, our essence is an energy. It just simply wasn't your experience for you to have alone. My mother was not doing anyone a service keeping the story to herself. She would share the story with me. I went back, I had her tell the story on tape because I couldn't get her to write it down. I spent time going back and forth with the transcripts. What about yours? How many people are you sharing your story with? Who's compiling these stories? Who's doing it not necessarily in such a scientific or research manner, but who's doing it in a way that is just in spoken everyday English? So what happened to me? Something changed in my energy, my frequency, my vibration on some level. How did I know things were going on? I held my hands near my patients, their bodies moved, they started having healings. You would think that would be dramatic enough. Ha ha ha. There was more. About 4 months into it, I held my hands near one of my patients. And my patient's head jerked back. His eyes rolled to the top of his head. His mouth opened. His tongue started to move in a way that if you were looking at it, it was clearly forming vowels. Air began to audibly escape from his mouth. The air condensed itself into a high-pitched sound, which became a deeper sound, which formed words, and the words said, "We are here to tell you to continue doing what you are doing." Now let me tell you right now, if I get too weird for ions, but I hope you can see this whole interconnectedness, because the universe is one. There are not extraterrestrials over there, and Pleiadians over there, and Syrians over there, and angels over there, and guides over here, and these over here, and these over there. We are all on a continuum of existence. So the voice said, "We are here to tell you to continue doing what you are doing." What you are doing is bringing light and information onto the planet. Now, I was quite shocked, quite surprised, quite taken by this experience, because this had been a patient of mine, never had a voice come through him before that I was aware of at that time. I had never experienced that. It was very powerful. It was very real. But it was only one person, so maybe he imagined it. Maybe he was just very convincing. But 2 days later, it happened to 3 other patients. 2 days later, it happened to 3 other patients. Their heads jerked, their eyes rolled, their mouth opened, their tongue moved, air came out, and the air said, condensed itself into a voice, and the voice said, "We are here to tell you to continue doing what you are doing. What you are doing is bringing light and information onto the planet." And then 2 of them said, "What you are doing is reconnecting strands." One of them said, "What you're doing is reconnecting strings." And later on, the first patient came back in and said, "What you're doing is reconnecting strings." A few days later, it happened to 5 other patients. Over the following 3 months, it happened to 50 different patients, lost consciousness and spoke 6 phrases. I shared with you the first 4 already. If it only happened to one person, I don't know whether I would have believed them. If it didn't happen at all, I don't know whether I would have continued following Reconnective Healing to where it is today. But right now, what we call reconnective healing has affected millions and millions of lives around the planet. We teach all over the globe. It is a way for us to do more than one thing at once. It is a way for each of us to access this awareness, this centeredness, this peacefulness, this wholeness that is our essence that we have experienced in between lifetimes, if you want to look at it this way. I talk about it in between lifetimes. We talk about a near-death experience. My mother would say it was a life-after-death experience because if you had it, you know that you had died. Dying has different meanings depending on our definitions of it. In the broader definition, we understand from this that there is no death. Yet we call it a near-death experience. But there's something. And we can experience this, you and I, every day. Studies done at the University of Arizona with people who have learned reconnective healing have showed that the heart, the brain, and the energetic emissions from the body have changed in a way that allows us to enter into a heightened state that they call a quiescence. It takes us beyond what master meditators for decades have been able to access. It allows us to access it immediately. But it's not just about us accessing it. It's about us sharing it. It's about us learning to share this with others. I look at the earth from my imagined perspective, from the pictures that we've seen from taken out in space, and I see this blue planet. And I see the continents, and I see the countries, and I see light. What you are doing is bringing light and information onto the planet. I see a light that comes from within each one of us. And I see a light that we heighten within those with whom we interact. And I see this light spreading throughout the globe. And we spent time and money in research to discover if this exists and how. What we have learned today through the works of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp in Germany and others is that we are light. You are light. Not just spiritual, metaphysical, NDE light, but light that's measurable here in this four-dimensional existence of height, width, depth, and time. Your DNA emits measurable levels of light that when our health is diminishing, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, that light is measurably dimming. When our health is coming back up, that light is coming back up, but not just raising in intensity. It is also becoming more coherent, more harmonic. Because what is it when we fall away from perfect health? We fall into a disharmony. When we return to health, we return to a state of harmony, wholeness, balance, oneness, and unity. Now, people started calling this everything in the world as word got out about this. So I gave it a name, Reconnective Healing, because I had to come up with a name for it. Today, would I have chosen that name? Partially, but not fully. I got reconnection or reconnective from the third and fourth phrases. What you're doing is reconnecting strings. What you're doing is reconnecting strands. But healing. You see, my perspective as a doctor of chiropractic was limited in many ways. My focus was on recognizing that people could walk again, see again, this again, that again, tumors disappeared. And did it happen in everyone? No. Did it happen 100% of the time in 100% of the people? No. But it happened a significant amount of the time in a significant amount of the people. And so I saw the physical healings, and I called it healing. Truth is, it is healing, but not the way we think of healing. Healing doesn't just mean recovering from something. Healing is an evolution that you've all experienced. Emotionally, you've come back changed. Mentally, you've come back changed. Physically, many of us have come back changed. Spiritually, we've definitely come back more whole, more full. And many of these changes we found are lifelong, will not revert, will not go back. And our life has been thrust forward on a course that is not foreign, but may feel foreign. Is not different than our life path, but is so far evolved that at first it feels foreign to us until we turn around and go, oh, this only makes sense. It's a logical progression. It's just that I might not have thought that I could have gotten here within one lifetime. Now, is it for us alone? Or is it for us to share? These are some of the questions. But I can't give you your answers. I'm hoping that I can give you some of your questions. I don't know who I would have been if I had not gone through this. You don't know who you would have been if you had not gone through this. But I know that we are changed, we are forever altered human beings. Is this room set up for questions? What I would love to do, instead of assuming that I know what you want to hear, is selfishly hear a little of you. I would love to take some questions and do my best to respond accordingly. But one thing that my experience did not make me was a psychic. So if you do have a question, we have a microphone for you, but you will have to raise your hand. First hand in the back. Just please wait for Joan to get to you. Okay, you'll be number 2, okay? You'll be number 2. Please, just remember, everyone, keep the mic really close to your mouth.
Okay. I would just like to know, since you can heal people individually in your office, have you tried doing a group situation?
Well, you know what? This is not about me healing people. If this were about me, I would have continued doing what I was doing. I was staying in my office, doing about 10 healing sessions a day, 6 days a week, until I realized that this is only as good as many people as I can touch. Until I'm exhausted, or until I'm no longer here necessarily, maybe in this physical form. So we teach reconnective healing all around the globe. I don't want you to come to me for a healing session. I want you to either access self-healing for you, or what I consider at the next level is to learn to facilitate healings for others, because we are here to help one another. Whether we just want to help members in our family, whether we want to help a few friends and relatives, or whether we want to become professional reconnective healing practitioners, then we are here to learn that work. Yeah, I know it. Now, as far as group healings, can you do them? Yes. I don't feel that it's the highest level for this. I feel that the highest level of reconnective healing is to learn to work one-on-one. Now, why? A lot of us are more comfortable doing group healings. You know why? Because we don't have to share our very essence. We don't have to unveil our soul. When you're working one-on-one with reconnective healing, you, in essence, energetically unveil your soul and share it with another person. They can't help but be better. And their next people they interact with can't help but improve from that too. So can you do it by group? Yes. I prefer you do it one-on-one when you learn that. Your question?
Well, my question is almost along the same lines, because I've listened to you and there's a lot of hope for individuals and working with diseases and all. My question is, I have a lot of turmoil, like with the world situation that's going on. And do you experience in your practice that the same changes that are happening in individuals are happening on a wider level? Is there something that really gives you hope along those lines?
Everyone is touching and no one is touching. Everything is touching and nothing is touching. Everything one person shares is shared by everyone. How many of you are familiar with Nassim Haramein? Heard of Nassim Haramein? Nassim Haramein takes quantum physics and turns it into an everyday, understandable, comprehensive communication, a language that we can begin to understand who is what and what is what. Now, if we look at objects, just objects, we can hear the sound of this table. It's solid. We can hear the sound of something that's solid. And yet, if we look at this podium under an electron microscope, we will find that it is 99.999% empty space. If we look at the atoms in this telephone, we will find that they are 99.999% empty space. Yet I can rest the telephone on the podium. We can see them touching, hear them touching, but they're not touching because it's the empty space that's communicating, and it's not empty. The space is an informational field. If it were empty space, it would fall apart. We are the same way. We are 99.999% what science would call empty space, but we're not. We're a field of information. Now, if you look at an atom, you can see the electron may be spinning way out here, and the nucleus, the proton and the neutron, may be clumped together deep in here. But if we take two protons and blow them up so they're each the size of an orange, the distance between them would be 2 football fields. Mostly it is that empty space or that informational field. Everything you experience, everything you hear, every thought you have, every insight we gain, every question that we have, even in this interaction today, is picked up by one proton within you. And every time that one proton grows or expands or shares or evolves, that same evolution and expansion is shared by every proton within you, and every proton within you, and every proton within you, and every proton within the universe. Your evolution affects every proton in the universe. In other words, let me say it the opposite way. The universe is dependent upon your curiosity, your growth, and your discovery. So everything that happens within one of us happens within every one of us. Does that work for your answer? Thank you. Please.
About 10 or 15 years ago, I was blessed to attend a workshop of yours in Chicago. And you began on Friday night with doing a demonstration that made an absolute indelible impression upon me, and I believe the whole audience. I was wondering if you'd be willing to do that here now.
Do a healing demonstration?
Yes.
Yeah, I know that. Well, maybe. Here's the maybe. Let me ask you a question. If we do something, because we're streaming, I want to do something that's widely, largely visible. So my question number one is there anyone in the room who you used to be able to bring your arms up straight up over your head like this, but if you tried that today, one or both arms might stop part way. Anyone? Okay, well, but I've worked with you. I'm someone I don't know. Can you stand up and show me? I may work with you in a different way. Just show me. No. Don't explain. No. Do what I'm doing. Start with your hands to your sides. Bring them out like the hands of a clock against the wall and show me where each one stops. Do they both stop there or does one go higher? They both stop there. How long have you had that problem? How long have you had it approximately? 20 years? Have you been to doctors for it? Chiropractors, physical therapists, medical doctors, osteopaths, orthopedists? Had x-rays or MRIs? MRIs? X-rays, okay. And frozen shoulder you were diagnosed with. Any other diagnosis? Change in curves in your spine. Okay, so you've had therapy, you've had treatments. Have you had injections for it? What? Prolotherapy? Okay. What's your name? Gwen. You want to come up and play? Come on up here. We're going to play. Hang on. Without any promises, without any guarantees, because as we all know, life may not come with promises or guarantees the way we always think that it should, and maybe it does, but we just don't recognize them. So, Gwen, will you show the room again just the way I showed you, straight out, how high your arms can go? So, we're going to call Gwen about 5 minutes to 2. Okay? Got it? Just do it again, Sean. Do it again, Sean. So we're going to call Gwen about 5 minutes to 2. Perfect. No, you're fine. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Here, are we solid here? Sure, have a seat. Scoot way back so you're balanced on the table. Perfect. Who here has never worked with any form of energy healing before and not even sure that you believe in it? Really? Great. Yeah, I know, but I already have one. You want me to pick someone else? I already saw someone. Okay. You've never worked with energy healing before? Don't even know whether you believe in it? Okay, cool. What's your first name? John? Want to come play? Okay, you're it.
This is the last book, because Evan Alexander's right after you, so this is the last thing.
At what time? Okay. Here's what I'd love. John, come on up here. Here's what I'd like you to do. Oh, John, Gwen, Gwen, John, how do you do? Next. Hold your hand open for me just like that. Fingers wide. I'm going to bring my hand in here. You're going to watch your hand. And I'm just watching. See that tiny little movement of your fingers? Yeah. I'm going to bring my hand in here and pull and stretch and play, and there's a little vibratory movement of your fingers. What do you feel when I do this? Nothing or something?
Not sure.
Not sure. But if you were sure,
There's a twitch there.
there's a twitch going on. Okay? As I stretch or pull further apart, does the sensation stay the same or does it change now?
Not sure.
Not sure. Okay, let's play with this hand. I'm going to change my angle for a moment. Fingers open. Hold them strong and wide. Let's watch. Okay. You can see the tiny little movements. Your index finger. Occasionally in the ring finger. Any sensation with this? What do you feel when I do this, if anything?
Slight warmth.
A slight warmth.
Yeah, not much.
Okay, not much. As I stretch further and further, sensations stay the same, or does it change? Not sure. Okay, where's the warmth coming from? My hands must be very hot if you're feeling all that warmth, right?
It's not much warmth.
It's not much warmth. What's the temperature of my hands?
Cold.
Cold. So where's the warmth coming from? We don't know. One of the things we first begin to understand with the reconnective healing spectrum is that it turns the laws of physics upside down and inside out. But we're going to play a game. So John, hold your hands like this. Imagine for a moment that there's a string or rubber band attached to the center of your left and your right palm. You stretch the rubber band and imagine that you can feel it pulling, right? You can do that without me.
Yeah.
Right? Got it?
Yep.
Perfect. Come over here. Gwen.
Yes.
Take your right hand. Hold it open like that. John, come over here. You can let your left hand down. Hold your fingers open wide. Hold your fingers open wide. We're going to watch Gwen's hand. You come with me a little bit. Imagine your rubber band now attached here. Keep your fingers strong. I want you to feel in your palm. And here. Look at Gwen's fingers. Pull the rubber band. Oops. Gwen says, oops. Gwen, what do you feel when John does this?
I don't really feel anything. That's what's weird.
She doesn't feel anything, but are you moving your fingers or are your fingers moving themselves?
They're moving themselves.
Her fingers are moving themselves as John pulls and plays with this. Now, John, point your fingers towards Gwen's hand and imagine lightning bolts coming out of each fingertip. Open your fingers. Point them at her hand. Wiggle your fingers. Just like here, open. Good. Wiggle. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Move your hand up and down like that. Whoa is right. Pull and stretch. Further back. Stretch the lightning bolts back. Whoa, what are you feeling now, Gwen? Shit? Is you were trying to say shit? We're streaming, Gwen. Gwen, you can't say that. They'll have to bleep you. Okay. Pull and stretch. Cool. Okay. Listen. Do me a favor, will you? We were just playing with the fingers of your hands.
Right.
Before we do anything else, before John works on your shoulders, would you show us again, just remind us how high your arms can go? Smile. Go ahead. Very cool, John. Want to talk about this later? Look at that. Very cool. Thank you both for volunteering. There's your demo. I'm going to have to bring this to a close in a moment. I'm sure we'll all be chatting a little bit later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. You got this in your, oh my God. Yes. Listen, can we, Joan, are we good for 3 minutes? Yeah? Good. Okay. Oh, no, we have nothing? You have it? Can you turn it on? I will. We're going to show you a 2-minute video in how you can learn reconnective healing. You can learn it, the beginnings of it, to bring into your own life. Not to become a practitioner yet, but to bring into your own life. You can learn it through the online level 1. And if you want to learn how to become a practitioner of this work at a much higher level, and you see how easy it is to teach just the beginning basics. You don't even have to believe in it, John. How do you like that? You don't even have to believe in it, okay? Although you do now, huh? Then you can learn how to do this work live. Joan, do you want to make an announcement about, are you on?
Yeah, we have to see if we have sound.
Go ahead, let's see if we have sound. Hit the button. We do, we don't, otherwise we'll have Joan come up.
No?
All right, we don't have a sound on this video. Joan, do you want to come up and talk about this? Joan will give you a little closing information as we bring this together.
First of all, I'd like to thank Ellen Dye and Neil Helm for Virginia Beach IANs. You guys stand up. Give these guys a hand. And Linda Truax.